Hey guys, in this video we're going to organize that each of these enemies has a couple of different radiuses on them. Again, we're going to put something back that we had previously. One is an attack radius like this, which is the distance within which they start shooting at you, and then a second radius is their chase radius, which determines the distance within which they start chasing after you. So let's dive in and see how that happens. Welcome back guys, so let's talk about this flexible way of customizing our enemies. I'm just going to pop up a screen annotation to start with and sketch right on here because I think it's going to be easiest. So what we're trying to do is for each enemy have a couple of different radiuses. So one is going to be the attack radius. So for example, this guy may have this attack radius, whereas this guy here may have, let's say, a much bigger attack radius centered around this chap in the middle here, this guy. Okay, and then what we can also do for each guy is have a separate move radius. So for instance, this chap may say, well, only if I get this close to him will he move towards me, whereas this guy over here might have a big move radius, bigger move radius like so. And what this means is that you can have some enemies that are kind of ranged and they stand and shoot, like this dude here. He just stands and shoots at the player if you enter his shoot radius, and this guy here will run towards you and wait until he gets close to you to start attacking. So that would be for melee or very short ranged. And if we provide just those two parameters to Rick the designer, then he's going to be able to make quite a wide array of enemies by changing these two circle sizes. They can be bigger or smaller than each other as required. So that is what we're doing in terms of this simple customization, is just to get a couple of radiuses in. So I'm going to start off helping you with the simple attack radius, and then you will go in and help yourself with the move radius. So let's start by talking about an attack radius. So it's a question of picking the enemy script and firstly exposing something. So we already have actually an attack radius here. What we're not doing is we're not drawing that anymore as a gizmo. If you remember, if we look for gizmo in the entire project, we don't have it anymore. Now this is one of the benefits of using source control, of course. If I go back in my source control, I can see down here the video in which I introduced gizmos, and we can just simply go back, find that code that we used to draw the gizmos previously, and just copy it and pop it straight back in the bottom of the enemy and customize it to our needs. So this is actually the two things we want. We're just putting it back. As I say, good thing about source control is you can bring things out, put them back in again, etc. So different variable names. Attack radius was attack stop move radius. And I think I'm going to make my attack radius red. Already is. Fantastic. Comment this out for the moment. In fact, we don't need this type of move gizmo. I'll get rid of it altogether. So we just have a simple attack sphere. Let's make sure that works, that when this code finally reaches over here and then we turn gizmos back on, that there you go, you can see their red attack radius is now. Now each of these enemies has a different, has the same attack radius, but we can of course customize each individual instance of the enemies now just by dragging their attack radius up and down. And it's spherical, so if we were up or down a ramp or something like that, that would also work. So that's pretty cool. We've got a customizable attack radius based on work we've basically previously done. So what I want to do next is to actually make use of this attack radius, because if you search your code in this particular file, or just do a Control F here, you'll find that it is targeting the player when we get inside the attack radius, but that is making him move to the player. What we want to do is to just shoot at the player, not move to him. We want a separate radius for the movement. So I'm just going to switch this around. This is kind of assuming that attacking means moving. So what I will do, I think, straight away is just, this code is correct for the player moving there. So you'll be able to use this code for the enemy moving to the player when they get inside the move radius. But for the attack radius, I'm just going to do something slightly different, which is just print to the console. So what I'll do is I'll keep this code because you're going to find it very useful in your challenge. And then when we get to the attack radius, I am just simply going to say a print. Print. And then I'm just going to say the game object name. So game object dot name, I think, plus attacking player. And that's it, only if we're inside the attack radius. We won't bother moving right now. Now later, and I'll put a to-do in, to-do spawn projectile. But we'll make that a separate video, the spawning of the projectile and the firing at the player. So let's just check that works. Let's take a recognizable enemy in the game, for example, this dude here. Let's give him a name that we're going to recognize, the actual enemy though, rather than just his Sub-object, there we go, call it Boris temporarily at runtime, and then we will move inside Boris's radius and watch the console, Boris attacking player in the console there. Good. So that's working. We have the structure that we need to draw the gizmo down the bottom and to actually go ahead and spawn projectiles, but we'll do that in a separate video. So that is that bit. Now what I want you to do is relatively simple challenge. I want you to come along and to set up the move radius yourself. So set up a move sphere. The enemy should have a move radius, a new exposed parameter. Gizmo optionally draws. When I say optionally, I mean it'll draw if we have gizmos turned on in a game mode. So put yourself a gizmo. I'm going to put blue for the move radius. And you should navigate to the player when you get inside that move radius, because we basically already have that code. So set up your move sphere now. So we have attack and move, and I'll see you when you've worked that out. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully relatively light and simple here. So we need to have a new exposed parameter, and I'm going to set a different to the attack radius as a default value because I want to be able to see the difference, basically. Otherwise, they may just end up on top of each other. So move radius or chase radius, let's say chase radius in terms of naming. Okay, so we have a chase radius. It's defaulting to 6 meters. Now down here, we have all this code, Control-K, Control-U to uncomment. If distance to player is less than the chase radius, then run towards the player. Well, let's try it. And then we'll get the gizmos. In fact, let's put the gizmos on straight away. Let's be confident in our coding here. So on draw gizmos, we draw the attack sphere, and then we draw the move sphere. RGB, remember, so red is here. Now, these are slightly magic numbers, but with gizmos, I don't think it matters. I think it's fine with gizmos. By the way, with the 0 in gizmos, in floats, you either put an F in or you don't. It actually doesn't matter with 0, so less is less typing. But for all other numbers, you need an F to make sure you say it's a float. So with gizmos, I don't mind hard coding this stuff in because there's too much weight to parameterizing things like these colors, all right? So we're going to go ahead and draw a blue sphere based on the... And then I need to go get the thing, what was it called? The chase radius. And let's be consistent. Draw chase sphere. Cool, let's go back in and firstly see if these spheres are drawing. They are, that's cool. So then if we focus on famous Boris here, we can change his chase radius down or up. Now let's put it down so that as we walked, and his attack radius up maybe a little bit. Something like that. So what we expect to see is as we walk towards him, he firstly logs that he would be attacking us, and then he should actually chase us. Let's see if that's what happens. So we're outside of everybody's spheres, just about. We can go to the console. We move in here. Firstly, Boris should go enemy attacking player, and then you saw him move to us. Now, that's not particularly convincing, so let's just try it again and make sure that these two enemies attack me, move towards me when I go here. They do. Great. Now later we could implement a second, or you can do it if you like, implement a second sphere, which says if we go outside of a certain distance, well, we're already doing that, you see. If we go outside of a certain distance, they stop chasing us. But what we could do is have a different distance at which they stop chasing us to when they start chasing us. So that's possible if Rick wants us to implement it. The point is that that normally if the enemy detects you at this distance, then once they've seen you, they normally keep better sight of you. So normally moving this far away from the enemy again, you wouldn't go out of sight. You see what I mean? Normally you have to get closer to somebody for them to notice you than you do how far away you have to get for them to lose sight of you is often a lot further. The other thing here that we're kind of forcing on this is that we have spherical radiuses for all these things, whereas they could be colliders, for example, or have non-spherical shapes. But spherical is absolutely fine for now. We're assuming that they can see and hear in all directions. It's not a sneaky game like Splinter Cell or something where the direction that the enemy's looking in is really important. So I think spheres is fine. So with those two parameters on every enemy, I think we're doing pretty well. We've got a pretty customizable system. What I'll do is just check that this has applied itself over in Rick's scene nicely, and you can see that all his enemies have these spheres on them. So now he can come in and he can start to customize individual instances of the enemy, and if he makes big changes to the enemy or he starts to spot patterns, then he can duplicate this enemy prefab up here in the edit and duplicate and give a different prefab with different default values. So that's that. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.